Okay, my name is Terry Garner. I'm a master gardener and recently voted in to be the coordinator here at Alabama Garden. Been a member here for over 25 years. My grandfather was a farmer, and during the summertime, I would go in and work with him on his farm, and I actually hated it because I'd rather be playing basketball or playing with the neighborhood kids. But actually, it became one of the first jobs that I had because he would let me take some of the produce and I'd take it on my bicycle and sell it to people who wasn't farmers in the community. It was in a semi-rural area, and it was my first opportunity to make money. So it was my spending money.
My name's Joe Novak. I have a PhD in veg crops from Cornell University. I was with A&M for decades and decades. When I retired, I wanted to do something different, so I moved to Houston and had an opportunity to teach at Rice. I grew up on a farm. I was planting my first packet of seeds when I was 4 years old. I'm at 78, so I've been doing this probably 4 times as long as you guys have been here.
My name is Paula Valvontin, and I'm the Programs and Development Manager at Urban Harvest. I went to California for a master in agriculture at the University of California, Davis. And right after I graduated, I wanted to get exposure into the ag world. So I moved into Houston and I found out about Urban Harvest and the work that they do with community gardens, food access, and farmers markets. So I started volunteering with them, and then I moved into a part-time position, and now I'm a full-time programs manager.
A food desert is an area in the city where there's no access to fresh fruits and vegetables. For instance, there's no grocery stores.
Any urban center is going to have places where people can find things like chips and soda drinks and so forth, but they have the problem of getting good, sustainable type foods. Fruits and vegetables are one example of something that's very hard to get out of a convenience store.
These corner stores do not have that. They have junk. They sell cigarettes, beer, and wine, and chips, and things that's not beneficial to your health. So that makes it a food desert.
Food deserts tend to develop where there are no good big outlets, you might say, to provide that food. No supermarkets and so forth.
So people have to travel a distance in order to get fresh fruits and vegetables.
People would have to get on a bus, ride it for an hour or so to get to a market, and then come back with the food that they purchased and so forth. So we call those food deserts, where there is food insecurity, where there is a shortage of good, fresh food.
Urban Harvest primarily focuses on 4 neighborhoods: 3rd Ward, East End, Sunnyside, and Northeast Houston. All of them are currently identified as food deserts, and with each of those priority neighborhoods, we work with communities, local organizations to try to combat the lack of healthy food choices.
Well, Alabama Garden has been around now for going on about 40 years now. It's grown over the years, and our membership has grown as well. A man by the name of Verius Smith started a little garden patch here. We took this vacant lot and started small and grew to what we have right now. It's 56 raised beds, which is 4x40. And this is what we call an allotment garden. And an allotment garden means that you pay $5 a month for your particular bed. The person who actually paid the $5 for the plot, he grows anything that he wants to in the garden. Alabama Garden serves as that opportunity for people to join and grow their own fresh fruits and vegetables. There used to be some row houses across the street before their gentrification came by, and they tore them down, and pretty soon you're going to see condos and things of that sort over there. But we used to keep those people. They were our eyes and ears to the garden, and every year we used to have an Easter egg hunt, and we would invite the family and their kids over here to find the Easter eggs. So we became an integral part, and people still come by today and ask, do y'all have any fresh fruits and veggies? And people, if they're here and they want to share something from their bed, we give it to them. Community gardens are really integral, especially in places like food deserts. You have a lot of land in urban areas that's not being utilized, just like this lot here. This was a vacant lot.
Or you can go from the other side. No, you be facing the sun then. But you need to get a picture of that flower. Yeah.
Oh, there we go.
Yeah. That's pretty. Started growing flowers. Take care of the yard. It's easy. You make mistakes and you learn from your mistakes. I'm one of the professional gardeners here. Yeah, I do good to encourage all the rest of the garden. I was trying to get here about 10 years before, but just so happened I had stopped at Shape Center and they needed somebody to come help in the garden. So I took this spot back here with Shape Center, these 2 beds with Shape Center. I did so good in there, and I asked JD, what about giving me a bed? I want a bed so I could grow my own vegetables. So he seen how good I was doing, and he let me have a bed. And I've been here ever since. That was 2013. Got radish, beets, the carrots. Yeah, it's just a baby. It's all right. Sorry about that.
My name is Jessica Webb, and I am a gardener. I rent a plot, and I plant things in my plot. Well, I have a few friends that are professionals, and they've been using the garden as a way to kind of deal with some of the stresses and anxiety of being a African American in a professional setting. And so they've been telling me about it for a few years, and I would kind of come and just hang out. But in 2020, I really decided to get serious about gardening with the pandemic, and ever since I've been out here. I've been affected by food insecurity. Food now is way more expensive than it used to be, and part of the reason why I wanted to start gardening is kind of supplement some of those food costs and to make sure I know where the food is coming from. Alabama Garden has a long history of combating food insecurity. It was actually started, you can't see, but behind on the other side of this camera what used to be houses, and with people who basically didn't have like any retirement system. And so as they got older, their income was less, but they still needed good healthy foods. And so people would take their extras from this garden and then feed the surrounding community. So Alabama Garden has a long history of doing that, and it's even doing it now.
Our historic presence, because we've been here for so long, that they continue to let us use it for urban gardening. And at one time, we were the largest garden in the city. But now you have places like Westbury, Planet Forward, and Hope Farms, because they have all this land. But we've still been here. We are here. We are the poster child. We are the first. And it just goes to show you how someone's little bitty dream can turn into something like this, even in an urban area. So community gardens plays a really special role, and especially in places that are deemed as food deserts.
We can come into food deserts with garden programs. There are many ways to grow things, but people just don't know how. So part of it is a fairly inexpensive project, and that's to teach gardening in these neighborhoods. And once we get the people gardening and growing good fresh food, they begin to share it with others and either share the produce, they share the techniques, and that really starts to bring about a big change. If all you have is a vertical space, soccer balls, dogs, and so forth down here, this level, put something up on a fence or on a wall and grow it there. We're not going to have tomatoes in the garden 12 months, but we're going to have fresh produce coming out of the garden 12 months a year. And so it's just helping people recognize that we have a 12-month growing season. As soon as this comes out, get the next thing in and growing, but get yourself producing food 12 months a year. So we tend to get 3 to 4 crops a year off of each little patch of ground, except for perennials like the fruit crops, okay? So every one of these beds, this bok choy that I'm standing in front of, for example, this was planted about 6 weeks ago, and it's ready for harvest. We recycle. The garden can help the natural ecosystem of which it's a part, or it can do serious damage to it. So let's work with the natural ecosystem. I mentioned we don't bring in any of the beneficial insects that clean up the aphids and so forth. They're all here, but we didn't kill them off either. We aren't using synthetic pesticides. We're not accidentally killing them. They're here to help us when we need them. And so it's getting people to understand working with nature in the garden. Well, one thing I did when I was at A&M was created an area called socio-horticulture, the special social applications of horticulture. How we can use horticulture as a tool to help rejuvenate neighborhoods, as a tool in therapy for people with disabilities, as a tool in helping slow down the aging process for elderly persons and so forth. Gardeners as a whole have fewer major chronic disorders than other people. Gardeners have less dementia than other people. Gardeners live longer than other people, tend to live longer. Gardeners tend to be able to work later in life than the population as a whole. And so gardening has a lot of health benefits. I also get involved with things like food banks and so forth. And for example, the Wesley Food Bank, they have a food bank associated with a community garden. So the community garden teaches gardening in the neighborhood, but it also provides some fresh produce for the food bank. I also teach and have a garden over in the medical center. And so it gives me one more way to reach young people with the importance of food production, gardening, and all.
Urban Harvest, it's a very small team. We have different programs. We have 4 programs. We started with community gardens. That was kind of like our main program back in 1994. Community gardens then opened the doors for our education program to start training gardeners across Houston how to grow organic vegetables. Then we moved into a farmers market. So in 2003, 2004, we opened our Saturday farmers market that today hosts around 100 vendors, 110 vendors from all across Houston, and it's the biggest farmers market in the region. And then last but not least, last year, because of COVID, we funded our food access program. And that has become one of the most important ones now. As part of our food access program, the mobile market is also our spearhead strategy to go to neighborhoods, food insecure neighborhoods, and deliver fresh fruits and veggies at the lowest cost possible. And we also operate a SNAP incentive program called Double Up. So for each dollar that individuals enroll in SNAP spend at any of our farmers market, they receive $1 extra. So you can get fruits and veggies at 50% off pretty much. So that's what we do in a nutshell. We always say that community gardens, the most important thing about community gardens is the community. Like if there's not a community in place, then gardens can't thrive. So you really need to be committed to a garden, and when you develop that commitment in a community, you realize that so many other things change. Our focus mostly is in promoting organic agriculture. We also promote permaculture principles. We have classes at no cost that people can just learn how to garden, learn how to grow their own food. So that's all about sustainability. I mean, how can you give access to fresh food at the lowest cost possible anywhere in Houston, not only places that have like access to supermarkets or restaurants.
My name is Rachel Folkerts, and I'm the Farm Program Director at Plant It Forward. Plant It Forward's mission is to empower refugees to develop sustainable farm businesses. The program has grown, and we currently work with a network of 8 farm businesses that operate on 4 farm sites, 2 of them in low access areas. And so like folks from the neighborhood here can and do come by the farm to get fresh produce. Plant It Forward is a farm support organization. As a nonprofit, our work is to provide farmers with the knowledge and skills that they need to start farming, with access to fair markets, and to a certain extent, we provide them with access to land and some of the basic resources that they need to get their business started. We're really focused on making sure that our farmers have access to fair markets, which to us means that they are paid fairly for their work. We have chosen to work with specifically new Americans who arrived with refugee status, again, because that is a population that has agricultural skills. Houston historically resettles 4,000 to 5,000 refugees a year. We see our work certainly as strengthening the local food movement and bringing fresh and healthy food to Houston consumers. The other thing that urban farms need to do and can easily do is sell direct to consumer.
My name is Hari Kota. and I'm the farm manager at the Bhakti Urban Farm. And we started about 4 years ago. This property is owned by the Hare Krishna temple, and this is an 8-acre farm. We started with getting a few cows. That's the cow barn over there. And the idea of doing the farm project from a Hare Krishna perspective is to teach the people how to care for the land and cows and what it means to be a better person also. Empowering individuals and in the process empowering communities. And that's part of the Celebrate Sundays programs or any other events that we have, is basically to share what we have going with the community. And we do garden tours, homeschooling groups, and educational, college groups. We work with the cows a lot, and so every day we collect the cow manure from the barn, and that's, as I was saying, those are the compost piles. And that's what is powering everything that you see around here. So, the plants convert the sunlight into food, and the cows eat that grass, and they give us the cow manure that we further process to make the compost. And that's what is put in the beds, and that's what helps us grow. And it becomes a symbiotic relationship as opposed to an exploitative relationship. So we're part of the ecosystem, and that's the idea. When more people start doing it, it automatically solves a lot of the problems that we're trying to address right now. We can not only just solve food insecurities, but we can also solve unemployment. That is empowering, actually, when you learn how to grow your own food and you can be a little more free.
We used to say that commercial agriculture, there's no way urban agriculture could compete in volume and so forth. We realize that's simply not the case. We have a lot of idle land here in Houston, okay? You're not going to have big scale farming come in, but much of horticulture, the production of fruits and vegetables, always happened right around the perimeter of cities. So now what we see is a return to the market gardens of the past. So a farmer, such as a farmer with Planted Forward Farms, these are refugees. What they're doing is they're taking idle land and they're now bringing it into use. They're producing it right where the people are living, so we don't have to ship it. The average produce item travels 1,500 miles to get to you. In this case, it travels around the block maybe to get to you.
You can grow a lot for a small family with a small patch of land. If you know what you're doing and if you know how to do it, you can do a lot. Life is still coming from farms. It's not made in the factories. So before it's too late, we would like for the people to take this as a wake-up call and consider at least, homestead gardening, backyard gardening, and composting, and things of that nature, so that there's something you can start doing at your own level, wherever you are, and be part of this global movement. So it's a whole complex situation, but it has to start somewhere. To plant a garden is to hope for the future, to have faith that there's going to be a better tomorrow.
If you are interested in working with Plant It Forward to help us build this more equitable, more sustainable food system, then you can absolutely donate to Plant It Forward. You can go to our website, plantitforward.farm, and see how you can volunteer. And then to support our farmers, the best thing that you can do is purchase their produce. And that you can do through our farm share and by supporting our farmers at local farmers markets, and all of the information, all of that's on our website.
Anyone who wants to get a tour of the garden, we put our hours out there. Dr. Jade Hagan coordinates the garden, so you can help with that. And if any time a person wants to come in and just chip in and help, we have a large group of volunteers.
I think we all are impacted by food insecurity. When one person doesn't have enough to eat, it affects us all, because everybody brings something special to the world. And having good food to eat is essential for you to have good brain power, to bring your full self to each experience.
Come by and visit us. People would come, they would see what we're doing here, support us, and if at any cost, if they have any want to make some donations to get those things that we may need in our future endeavor, we would really be happy. And we really be thankful, because we feel that we really are blessed to be here as long as we have, and to carry on this legacy, and carry on the tradition that people work so hard before us to maintain and sustain this wonderful and beautiful garden that we have here in the heart of Third Ward.